Hello and welcome to For the Win, presented by Temple University. I'm your host, Marissa Magnata, and Nekra, happy Pokemon Day! I've been waiting all month to wish this to you.
Thank you so much, Marissa. I hope you're doing well, and I am so excited for what this weekend has in store for us, as well as this episode of For the Win.
We are going to talk to one of the OG members of the 76ers GC, Steez. Plus, there's a guy who's going to give you serious game room envy. I am so excited for everyone to see this guy's place. It's amazing. Can you get us started with some news?
Sounds good. Let's do it. 2021 plans for Rainbow Six Siege have been announced by Ubisoft for this year. These plans include regional competitions for Europe, Asia Pacific, North America, and Latin America regions. For North America, you can expect some small changes, such as a best-of-1 round-robin format adopting the point system seen in Europe as well. Teams will receive 3 points per win, 2 points for a win in overtime, 1 point for a loss in overtime, and 0 for a regular loss. What is perhaps most surprising is North America is going to play on LAN, meaning all players will meet in person. However, the broadcast talent will still stay at home to keep them safe. Additionally, the 2021 Six Invitational has been confirmed to return in May. There's a lot of R6 action for the year to kick everything off in March, so you're gonna want to stay tuned. Intel Extreme Masters Katowice 2021 is in full swing for both CSGO, which we talked a little bit about last week, as well as StarCraft 2. Throughout the week, qualified SC2 players have been playing throughout their groups to see which competitors get a chance at the knockout bracket this weekend. Out of 4 groups, 3 players from each group will advance to a single elimination bracket with best-of-5 matches leading up to a best-of-7 finals on Sunday. Quite a mixed group, but there are 11 Terran players, 7 Protoss, and only 6 Zerg in the group stages. You can catch all of the SC2 action on Twitch at ESL_SC2. For our last story of the evening, let's take a look at esports in the workplace. Oh yeah, you heard that right. There's this age-old story that esports are for everyone, and at Corporate Esports Association, they really share that philosophy with a ton of different corporations. Over 150 different companies participate in the many different games that CEA offers, including some heavy hitters like Walmart, IBM, Amazon, and Facebook. But why are so many companies getting involved in competing in esports? The Washington Post sat down with CEA co-founder Brad Tenenholtz and discussed some of the benefits of competing as a team in the workplace, stating more companies are realizing that competitive gaming is a meaningful activity that provides a very serious value add. Some of the claimed benefits include a more positive view of an individual's perception as part of a team, closer friendships, and enhanced workplace communication. Team-based play has always heavily relied on strong communication, and it's awesome that CEA is providing a place to foster that and several other facets of the workplace, all with esports. That's it for the esports headlines. Still to come, we've got the latest in gaming news with Field of View, except for the Pokemon 25th anniversary. Darf?
Welcome to Field of View with Nerd Street Gamers, your weekly dose of gaming news. I'm Darf Mike, and we here at FOV appreciate the 35th anniversary of the Legend of Zelda franchise, so to celebrate, we've come to Hyrule to break down the news. Nintendo hosted its first Nintendo Direct video conference in over a year, and what they showed was frankly quite disappointing. The Direct opened with a trailer that seemed to be implying a new Xenoblade Chronicles game was on the way, only for it to turn out to be the next fighter joining Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Pyra/Mithra, a 2-in-1 fighter, which is an exciting concept a la a Zelda Sheik, but she's a sword fighter, because apparently that's a playstyle that's been underrepresented in the game so far. We then saw a bunch of smaller titles being revealed and some updates to existing games, all to set up the biggest bait in video game history. AJ Aonuma came on screen on the 35th anniversary of the Legend of Zelda franchise to certainly unveil some information about Breath of the Wild 2 or the next installment in the Zelda franchise, but no, nothing new. Instead, we got a remaster of Skyward Sword, a game that was controversial at the time of release for having finicky motion controls and changing things up in the Zelda canon. Really? This is what we get? No new Zelda property? No news whatsoever about Breath of the Wild 2? This is what you give us? At least there was a new game in a tentpole Nintendo franchise. It was just Splatoon 3. which was teased with an edgy, atmospheric trailer that seemed to imply their artistic direction is headed somewhere between Mad Max and Borderlands. And frankly, that's the game I want to play, not the shooter that we're going to wind up getting. I want to play an open world 3D looter shooter where we explore the apocalyptic events that led to this world where children had been mutated into squid creatures. I'd play that game. Nintendo wasn't the only publisher getting in on the video conference action, as Blizzard had their BlizzCon event and unveiled a lot of information about their properties. But the biggest announcement concerned a 20-year-old game. It was about Diablo 2. Specifically, we're getting a remaster. It's going to be a new version of the beloved game. It's largely going to deal with cosmetic improvement, leaving the base game relatively untouched outside of a few quality of life improvements, and it should be a fitting tribute to a beloved entry in that franchise. It all sounds so good until you remember Warcraft 3 Reforged and how they promised the exact same things about that game before royally screwing the pooch, and so much so that the game is still in a rough state a year on from release. So here's our plea, Blizzard. Please, 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 don't screw this one up. That wasn't the only nostalgia-based announcement, as we are getting an expansion to WoW Classic. It's the Burning Crusade back once more, one of the best WoW expansions of all time, now available to be played, as apparently Blizzard's plan for WoW Classic is to just re-release all the franchises before, I guess, maybe hitting the reboot button and going back to square one. Starting to feel like a comic book property. There was also an announcement for a modern game, or rather a non-announcement, as we still don't know the release date for Overwatch 2, but now we know so much more about everything else to do with the game. There's a new map set in New York, there's a new hero named Sojourn, there's new costumes for the characters, new backstory, new PvE game modes. We've unveiled so much information about all of those. We still don't know when we're gonna get to play the game though. Nearly 2 years on that we've had Overwatch 2 announced, there is no window for when the game is going to release, so it's just going to be a big old game of wait and see. That's it for this week on Field of View with Nerd Street Gamers, your weekly dose of gaming news. Now, the announcements this week may not have exactly met your expectations, but at least out here in the field, there's nothing to catch you off guard.
All right, Darf. Hold up a second. I got a bone to pick with you, okay? It's about Zelda. It's about the Legend of Zelda and how you just did it dirty. First of all, in the Nintendo Direct, they were incredibly explicit, and rightfully so, about saying that there is going to be news in the future, but we just have to be patient. That's all we have to do, is be patient, and to tide us over, they were kind enough to give us Skyward Sword. How can you not be excited about that?
Okay. I'm glad you got that out.
I'll be okay.
I think we all need a break. So coming up in a minute, we're going to talk to one of the original members of the 76ers GC. His name is Steez, and he's going to be our palate cleanser. When we come back, take a breath.
Hi, my name's Alex Bernstein, aka Steez, and I'm a player for 76ers GC. I became a professional 2K player after college, received my degree in sociology, and I decided to take on a financial advising opportunity with a Fortune 500 company. Great job, loved it, had a great time, but my hobby was always, playing video games, and I did it with, my friends on my off time, and I started falling in love with the game of NBA 2K. And around that period of time when I was working, the NBA 2K League got announced, and I thought, this is something I'm very passionate about, and I would probably kick myself if I didn't try to take the opportunity a couple years down the road. And so plan A was obviously making the league once I saw this opportunity come up, and I stuck to it. And it's tough because in my line of work, you have clients and things like that, but my passion was not 100% there with financial advising. Like I said, great job, great opportunity, but my passion was video games. And when you find that escape and you find something that you could wake up and be competitive at, have fun doing it at the same time, but also you have now the opportunity to make a career out of it. There's no better feeling. And I get told a million times that people would love to be in my spot, love to be in my position. And so it's something you can't take for granted. I was a big football player, played for 17 years. I did not play basketball growing up at all. Always been a football guy, always on the gridiron. That was my sport. A little bit of baseball here and there, and maybe a little hints of soccer my freshman year of high school. But besides that, always been a football guy, never played basketball. Learning basketball, yeah, there's going to be some things you miss. I remember, if I give you one example, one of the things I always had to figure out was how to know when I was when we were in the bonus with fouls. And that was something I never figured out until like playing Pro-Am a lot. Once you get under 2 minutes, you got one foul left to give, stuff like that. But yeah, it just came with time and repetition. Eventually I figured it out. And I wouldn't even say like now I'm the biggest like basketball whiz, but 2K has definitely helped me hone in this aspect of this sport. For somebody who doesn't play basketball, a lot of it had to do with being in South Dakota for my football scholarship. That was where the college I went to, Northern State University. Great school, but South Dakota, sometimes it could, especially during the frozen tundra, it could get a little boring, and sometimes you got to find some things to do. So my friends and I, they were like, listen, like you make players and we can play together in the park, like 3v3. And I was like, oh, that sounds like so much fun. So in 2K17, I decided I'm going to make a player. And I felt like I was doing very well, like at 2K, or like I was picking it up early. And my friends weren't as committed to playing as I was. And so I just said, you know what, I got to move on. And I started playing with some better people and started moving up the ladder. And that's how my transition happened. Draft night, yeah, very, very intense night. A lot of emotions. That was a roller coaster day. 77,000 people tried out in our combine, which is wild to think about. And even when I told my support system about 77,000 people, they were like, okay, we love you, but there's just no way. And when I told them that night that I made it, yeah, we headed over to New York, and that's where the draft was in Madison Square Garden. I knew I was a great player. I knew I wasn't going to go first round, and I had interviews with teams like the Mavericks and the Wizards, so I kind of knew that they had some really good interest in me. And I was actually told in the 4th round, I had a player from the Wizards come up to me and say, hey, we're grabbing you right now. Like, this is it. And I'm 2 picks away. There's only 2 teams that stand in front of the Wizards, or there's only 1 team that stands in front of the Wizards, and 76ers GC, and then it was Wizards District Gaming next, and 76ers GC took their chance on me, and I was obviously more than excited. Any team that's going to take a chance on you, you owe them a lot, and that's kind of how I've always been looking at it. So any chance I get to help the Sixers, and any chance I have to show up on the court or off court, I always do so because they took a chance on me. The one thing that always stood out to me with Philadelphia, and something that I did not have to learn, but there were definitely a lot of things that I felt like I did have to learn, especially adjusting to living on the East Coast with like weather, because I'm a Cali kid. The best thing that I've always held true to my heart with Philly is your fans. You're always going to get some great fans. They embraced us, and right away, like, we knew that they wanted a winning trend, a winning culture, and that was something we wanted for them. So winning that very first tournament for Philadelphia was huge, because they knew what kind of team and what kind of caliber that they were dealing with. And I think us and Philly go together well, because there's a lot of grit and a lot of will to just want to win. Playing now in the off season, especially if you hop on the retail game, yeah, a lot of people are gunning for your head. They want to beat you. They're definitely trying to get little screenshots of beating you and then posting it on Twitter and then adding you under it. So that's always fun. The only thing that's tough sometimes is obviously you get so competitive, and I'm a very competitive guy, so I don't want to lose, even if it is like a fan that's coming to play us, like a 76er GC fan. But it's nice to let people know that, like, listen, we were like you guys one day. Like, we were playing just 2K, just casually, just have fun. But changing it into a career, you have to take that next step. I have a very close family. It's a very small group. Like I said, when I tried to mention everything to them about what I do, it's a little hard. But they've loved me every step of the way, and they supported me every step of the way, and they've never once doubted something I've done. Obviously, they've had a little bit of concerns, because they just want what's best for me, and that's what family does. But them never like telling me to it's time to move on or anything like that has always been great. And obviously, I have a girlfriend who's been with me every step of the way. She's been a day one, and I wouldn't change any of those people for the world. I think that when I say you need a support system, if you don't have those kind of people there, then those times when you're really going through it and you don't know if it's worth it, those are those people that push you that extra mile. Having these people here, those are the ones that really got me through when times got rough. My father passed away when I was 18 years old. And like I said, I was huge with football, 17 years. And he was, at every game. So was my mom. So the rest of my family was. But my dad, I could always see him on the sideline cheering me on. He actually would always try to sneak on and be like one of the chain gang guys who was always doing the yard markers just to have a closer seat instead of sitting in the stands. So that was the type of degree that my father was with sports. But what was so weird was I played so much football that the goal was always NFL. And eventually NFL, goes out the window when, I'm playing DB, I'm only 6'1". It gets a little tougher, and you realize that, maybe the NFL is not in the cards. So I always wonder what he would be thinking right now, because he was a big NBA fan as well. But I never played basketball. So that was one aspect he never got to see me play. And if he got to see that I'm in the NBA 2K league now, he would be so stunned, but I feel like he'd be very proud. But yeah, no, he's always played a huge role in my life. That was my best friend for 18 years. It's tough having him not be here around this time, but also knowing what he'd be thinking right now, it makes everything better. To get to this level where I'm at, I feel like there's some things that you just got to do, and the biggest thing is you got to be passionate. And if you can find passion in something, then you got to go for it. Like I said before, the financial advising job, great job, just wasn't something that my heart was fully invested to. And when you find something that you're fully invested to, go for it. But also know that you got to be willing to, take the hits, and you got to be willing to grind. And if you have that type of grind, then you're going to be able to achieve some of those goals.
It's so awesome to see that Steez was able to make this massive pivot in his career and have it completely pay off. And what's not to love about the entire Philadelphia fan base getting behind you and celebrating your success?
Yeah, he mentioned in that segment that he had somebody from the Wizards come up to him. I bet you he knows that he would have not gotten the love in Washington that he gets right here in Philadelphia. The Philadelphia fan base loves our sports teams, and we love him. He's become the face of the organization. Heck, they built like a new building down in Camden just for him. Him and a couple other people too, but Philly loves him. He's a Cali boy that fits here in our town, and that's not an easy thing to do, let me tell you.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Hey, coming up, we have the ultimate collector living right here in our area. We're gonna creep into his collection and maybe play a game or two if he'll let us.
Hi, I'm Joe Szabo. Welcome to my game room in my garage. The whole game room / movie theater is set up into 2 separate rooms. So when you first walk in, you're gonna see the home theater. And then in the arcade, I'd say altogether in this room at one time, there could be 40 machines, but I have several that I rotate in and out.
His collection is crazy. That is the first word that comes to mind. It is huge. Like, there's games everywhere. I don't know how it keeps growing and how he manages to fit more and more things in here.
He did not have as many as he has right now when I first met him. The only main game or arcade game he had in there was the arcade that he really built, which was the MyCade.
My passion for video games started around 1979 when I was introduced to Pong for the first time. My parents brought it home and we hooked it up to the TV, and that was the first time that I got to play a game on a television. In the mid to early 90s, I started making, with a friend of mine, we made a console that would house a Nintendo and have a TV so that we could play Street Fighter on it. So that would probably be my very first machine that I had that represented an arcade. Some of my crown jewels in my collection would be Asteroids and Space Invaders. Those are the 2 games that really set the bar for me as far as remembering and bringing back that childhood.
So if you get them in a row, it's easier than if they're scattered all over?
There's games even today that I still find that I've never heard of. I mean, there's thousands upon thousands of games. And it definitely is an addicting thing that I feel that anyone that is a video game or arcade collector, it's an addiction for sure. What is the next? What's the next game?
The collection that Joe has now is a passion. It's a love. You can see how much love he puts into it. When you look around like the room, you can see that he keeps most of his games in alphabetical order. He's always cleaning the games.
My wife thinks that I'm a little nuts because she has dealt with my craziness. If it's not going to try to find a game or ordering something that's new, or just, hey honey, it's 10 o'clock at night and I want to move these games, and she's out here helping me rearrange it, giving her input on what she likes, because I also keep her in mind all the time that what makes her comfortable, because if she's comfortable and my daughters are comfortable, then they're more likely to come in here and enjoy it with me. She wins, I win. One of the biggest things for video games, I would say, is me as an artist appreciating other artists. Would that be the side art, like the artwork that's on the outside of the cabinet, to the graphics and the gameplay itself, and being able to relive that back and bring some of that artwork back to life. It's so much more than just the video games. When people come into my game room for the first time, they're wowed at just the vibe that I feel that I try to capture in here. You still can see the appreciation in their eyes and their expression of what they're seeing in front of them.
When I think about the sounds of the video games, it's kind of just like I guess just a feeling of home. I relate anything video games with my husband, and it's also a way to connect with other people.
All right, so that's 4.
Family game
That's
time
still
in the
your
game room
second
for me is so much fun. It kind of reminds me when I was younger, we did board games at our house, right? So my mom always did Scrabble with me. We'd play like Rummy and things like that. We do that here, but it's more in the gaming sense. And so it gets the girls out of their bedrooms, it gets them off of TikTok or Facebook, and we're laughing with each other. It's just memories that they'll have.
And so whenever we have family game nights, I love that I actually get to spend time with them. And Joe teaches my mom and I a lot about these new games that we have never played before.
So it's designed so that you shoot one, you have to wait till it hits something or it goes off the screen.
When you bring that all together as a whole family unit system, then it's just the whole family experience, because when you have a larger library and you have something that everyone likes, you know what I mean? It's not just one type of game. Sharing this passion with my daughter and her friends or her boyfriend is very important to me because I want to keep this passion alive through next generations. In my age group, it was kind of the very beginning. We got to see the day one systems coming out from Pong and so forth and so on that, you know, we didn't have anyone before us to show. I want to have that pass on so that when they have kids and they have friends as they're older, they can say, man, I remember when my dad showed me this, or I want to show you guys something. So it's nice to be able to share that with them.
Marissa, I am drooling over that video game collection.
Me too. I mean, Joe and Krista, can we be friends? Like, call us. We can come over next weekend and play, please? All right, I have an idea for a new TikTok account. Imagine filming your friends' faces when they come in and see that room for the first time, right? Just do this, guys. Imagine being at school, inviting somebody over for the first time, and just, boom, wow. That's content. It's all about content. All right. That's enough for us today. We have had some crazy highs on this episode of For the Win, and I think we need to wrap it up. So, for Nekra, for the whole team behind For the Win, presented by Temple University, I'm your host, Marissa Magnata, and we can't wait to see you next week.
Also, Darf.